you beautiful souls out there. It is Sunday night. The name of the show is Intuitive Inc., and I am Servette Hassan. I've got a really great show for you tonight with a spectacular guest. Her name is Elizabeth Joyce. She's been a psychic since birth. She's done amazing things. In 2014, she was named one of America's top 100 psychics. She's also been named one of the world's greatest psychics in 2004. She is an astrologer, a spiritual counselor, an energy healer, a medium, a clairvoyant. She teaches the new energies of the fifth dimension, which we're going to be talking about. She's also written a slew of books, one of which is called Ascension, Accessing the Fifth Dimension, with a workbook. But there's many other books she's written, including Developing Your Sixth Sense, book 1, 2, and 3. But that's not why she's here today. She's joining us today because she's written a memoir. Her okay, I have to learn to talk. Let's stop. Here we go. Yeah. Her memoir is called Unlimited Realities, Born with the Gift of Sight and Natural Healing, and she truly has been. And I read the book. It's fantastic. She has lived a doozy of a life, and it is really interesting. Welcome, Elizabeth Joyce. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here, and happy Halloween.
Thank you.
We're at the perfect time, aren't we?
Yeah, almost. I almost said spooktacular show, but no, I didn't. So we're going to refrain from that. But no, I loved your book. You've done amazing work. You've been around a long time. You've been profiled in magazines. You've even worked with the FBI. You've done all kinds of amazing things. And it all comes together here in this book, your memoir. And I think you are a brave person to write a memoir. I don't know that I could do that quite yet. But so tell us, what led you up to doing that?
To writing a memoir?
Yeah, because it's not an easy thing to do. It's.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I was ordered to by Spirit.
Good. There
In
you
1981, I had a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fantastic dream. I'll never forget it. I dreamt about a stained glass window, and it was a huge circle, and in the middle was the dove with the peace bow, and it was brilliantly colored except for the bottom right-hand corner, and that was all in black and white. There wasn't much left that wasn't in color, but when I looked at it, I said, I know that's the life I still have to live. And they said, this is Unlimited Realities. You're going to write a book called Unlimited Realities. Then I didn't start writing it. I started to work with Dr. Frank Alber in Arizona, who's now passed, and Yogi Bhajan. Oh. And when I met Yogi Bhajan in New York, we just sat and looked at each other and giggled and giggled. We couldn't stop giggling. But he did my numbers that night and said I was a 779, and that I would write a book and that my 9th book would go around the world. And Unlimited Realities is my 9th book. As a matter of fact, on the cover we have the 9, and that's the rainbow going into the ocean with the dove, with the dolphin jumping through, representing piercing the veil.
Wow, I wondered what that was about, because the rainbow's beautiful. It's almost a circle with the eye on one end of the circle, the dolphin on the other, and joining, and it's beautiful. How cool is that? That's so cool. I'm glad I asked. Wow. So you didn't start writing it for a very long time. You just continued working.
I started writing it in the early 90s, around 91. And then I really was working on it very hard in the early 2000s with 2 friends of mine who were great editors, which is what I needed, because an editor is a wonderful person, and they really encourage you to get it down. And we shaped it up. And then I started having some losses, so I stopped again.
Right.
And then I picked it up at the Order of Spirit in 2015. And now we've just finished. It came out July 7th this year.
Wow. Well, it's fabulous. It really is. I mean, it starts at the beginning. It starts with you. First of all, I didn't mention it. Yeah, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but this is kind of really spectacular, too. You were born as one of 2 sets of identical twins, which is really unusual. And I think I think your mother was one of twins too, no? I mean,
No, my grandmother.
Your grandmother.
My grandmother had a fraternal brother.
Right, okay.
Brother as a twin, yeah.
Yeah, Granny. And you got TB and when you were around 8 years old, and you were sent off to live with her in New Hampshire because you grew up in New Jersey. And
I was lucky.
Yeah. You were lucky because I read that part. And she set you on the road, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She recognized what was going on, and what a teacher she was. I mean, the way that she disciplined it. I wish we could all discipline our children the way that she does.
Oh, I know. I love the part about
I really wrote it out how it was done, and I wanted people to pick up on that because I had time out before there was a timeout.
Right. I remember. You know what I loved? I loved when you did something wrong, she would send you to a tree with a mat.
Yeah, the pine tree.
The pine tree. And
she'd stand by the back door and tap her foot and hand me that mat with a scowl on her face, and I would go into terror. That's all she had to do, you know, and you had to go outside and sit under the pine tree and talk to the tree and try to reason with the tree with your ego and listen. And then when you could go back and tell her what you had done wrong and why she was angry,
right?
Then that's when it would all pass by, but she'd always have a chore for you. Well, now you have to sweep the floor, or now you have to set the table, or now you have to put the dishes away.
Wow. Yeah, I love
that. Very gentle, though. Very gentle, but responsibility. It teaches responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you carry that on later with your own children, your sons?
I tried to. Mm-hmm. I didn't do too good with my first son because I had him very young and really didn't understand about children at that point. Mm-hmm. My second son I did a lot better with.
Well, there you go. But I mean, you were young. I mean, you were like 19, I think, when you had.
I was 10 days 19 when I had him.
10 days 19. There you go. Mm-hmm. There, I read the book. See, you can't say I didn't read it. No, I loved it. I loved not just the part about Granny and how you started, but it just is the evolution of a soul as well. That just
and that's why guided. I wrote it. I wrote it to show others that when you're in a tragedy,
right,
there is a way that you can get through it without getting resentful, full of hate, judgment, and wanting to punish. You get through it by looking at the problem, trusting the universe, and proceeding forward.
Right. Well, in my last book, Life in Transition, it's all about there's a gift in everything. In any change in your life, including the most traumatic ones, because
it's very hard, though, for some people.
As Rumi said, though, our light comes from our wounds. I'm paraphrasing, but you know, it's our growth.
And you know, another thing, I know that there's circumstances and times when you really have to say goodbye to somebody and not look back.
Oh, yes.
And because you do that doesn't mean you hate them or wish them harm, but it's best for you.
Oh, yeah.
And we need to remember that without having hate and anger and I'll never this. It's best for you because there are people that can hold you back and there are people that can encourage you forward.
Right. It's also good for them, I think, too. When I think it's good.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes if a person is a control freak with a lot of people and you choose to break away, and that can be very difficult, I don't know how good it is for them. They'll just find somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everything is different and everyone is different. But let's work on the person that's doing the break because that's where the growth is.
Right. Yeah. Now, how do you had a way of telling who is moving you forward and who is not? Who is attacking you psychically and who is not?
Well, I did after some pain. I had a way of telling, and it took me a while to really learn what cutting is.
Right. Right, cutting meaning cutting cords and just cutting people out of your life.
You're cutting the cord of unnecessary learning because we're tested. Our soul is here to grow. Our soul is here to grow away from bad habits into good habits and to get closer to the light and to love the divine. So if you're in a bad habit and something comes along that keeps you in that bad habit, you have to learn about cutting You're cutting the habit. If you're cutting the habit, the people around you will disappear from your life because you don't need them anymore.
Right. Absolutely. I so agree with that. Absolutely. It's hard, but unfortunately, a lot of us learn that with a lot of pain. But we don't have to. We don't have to. We don't have to. Yeah, but well, okay, so you had one of the things here was in the book, too, and just in life in general, is like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And your gifts, I know Grammy taught you a lot, but you didn't really open up until to your gifts until later. I mean, you went through a really, like you were on American Bandstand, for God's sakes. And then,
for 3.5 years.
Right? I mean, that's awesome. And Bobby Darin wrote a great book he wrote a wonderful song, Dream Lover. And that part of the book was really fun to read, but because he was such a young joy. I still remember
he was
him.
a wonderful person. He really was.
Oh, God. And
but a lot of them were. I knew them all before they were famous. Carole King, Bobby Darin, Neil Sedaka, Connie Francis. Wow. All these people were the people that I knew. Paul Anka. I'm the only one that can call him Paulie these days. And Annette Funicello, they all sat around and wanted to know when they were going to get famous. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can actually, because we all started somewhere. And did you know the ones? Did you know who had it and who didn't have it?
Well, the ones that were on American Bandstand became
already
very, very. Yeah, I did know. I had a very innate thing, and I loved Connie Francis. Connie Francis was the greatest female singer in the world just before Barbra Streisand, who came in the 60s. Connie went around the world. She sold 9 million copies of albums, and she went to England, and she went to Japan, and she was incredible.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Her voice was absolutely phenomenal. You know, that's true. That is true. So your gift, I mean, you knew things like that. Like you could tune into things that you knew things without knowing how you knew them. But at what point did you, and at what point did you know that this was something you could use as a tool, as a career?
Not for a long time. Yeah. After my first out-of-body experience, and even when I was with Meg, I was not aware of it. I would say in the mid-'90s was when I really began to accept it.
Was that the car accident that you're referring to when you had the
No, that was in the 70s.
Okay. So
yeah, that after Jeffrey, my son, and I had the car accident, then I met Meg, my first teacher.
Oh, we have a caller.
And then I worked with Meg, and then Shirley taught me about psychic fairs, and then Louise Hay taught me about healing.
Okay, we have a caller.
I worked with Louise Hay.
I don't know why we have a caller already. I didn't open the lines up, but hello, caller. You're calling in already. Hello? Hello.
Oh, hi. I didn't know this wasn't the right time to call. Sorry.
No, that's okay. You're on the line already. I was going to have a little conversation and open up the lines in the second half, but we're good with that. You came through, so I figure it's meant to be. What's your name? And go ahead. Ask your question. Elizabeth's wonderful. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thanks. My name is Paula Atlansky, and calling from Northern California, and I guess I am interested in finding out what the future holds in terms of my ministry. I'm currently in ministerial school, but I don't know what area I want to specialize in. And I've definitely been an English teacher for the past 25 years, and so I have an interest in writing and speaking.
Well, there's 2 things you can do. One is begin your strong meditation practice and try never to deviate from it. That's number 1. You meditate in the morning and you meditate at night. Morning meditation and nightly review. And the second thing maybe is to have your karma done so that you know what you did in past lives and can take a look at putting 1 of 2 of those things together. I do everybody's karma. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be having a Christmas special on it. So that's part of what I would suggest. And then go around to maybe a holistic fair and watch people, watch what they do, what their techniques are, and see what you gravitate to.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you for calling, Paula. Do that, I think. And meditation is important. So, but thank you for calling in. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye. Elizabeth, I was going to ask you about that, but I want to go back before I do about meditation because I think everyone should do that every day. That's just a given. But I have to follow that train of last thought we were on. Your last out-of-body experience, then, is what set you on into the whole
in
teaching.
Hawaii?
Right.
No, my first out-of-body experience when I met my husband who had died and my stepson who had been murdered is what set me off. After that, I had a dream, a recurring dream about a body flying out of the top of a house, and I had that dream for 3 weeks. So I went to a friend of mine who was a social worker and told her I was going crazy and told her about the dream. I kept hearing your aunt died. She's in Houston, Texas, but my aunt lived in New Hampshire, as you know. And it was her aunt. And it was her aunt that was missing. And she had been caught, her house had been in the Houston oil well explosions in the late 70s, and they had not been able to find the body for 3 weeks. And I drew her a map of where the body was, and the police went right to it.
Right. Wow.
And that scared both of us.
Okay.
And we wanted to learn more. It really opened us up to wanting to know more, a big desire. And she found Meg. And we went to Meg in all her classes.
Then you went to Meg, and then Meg taught you all kinds of stuff. Yeah, right. And gave you even sort of a course outline for your first courses in psychic development and all of that, which is great.
Yes.
Are you still in touch with these people? Are they still around?
Meg passed away in the 2000s, and Brenda and I have talked on the phone every day since. So that's a long time.
Oh, my. Since and up until today. So, yeah, that's a long time. I think it's wonderful. I think it's really awesome. And are you still in touch with your twins? Your twin,
my twin
Priscilla?
Passed away.
Oh, okay. All right. And
she passed away in 2013. My older sister passed away in 2010.
Wow.
And Louise Hay just passed away, and I was in touch with Louise Hay. I was always in touch with Dick Clark, and Dick Clark loved Unlimited Realities, and he wrote me a wonderful note.
I know.
I had him read the American Bandstand chapter before I published it. I would never have published it without his reading it, and he approved it. As a matter of fact, he had even mentioned funding the movie, but he passed away.
Well, he did. And Louise Hay was very recent too. I know that was last year. She died August 30th this year. Yeah, this year. So not long ago at all. Yeah, she's amazing person too. I did read what he wrote. He said something to the effect like, "This is going to be a fabulous book." I read the part you wrote about. And he did. Dick wrote that. That was a direct quote from him. I have the letter with the letterhead and everything from Dick. Okay, so and then that set you off on this path when you found her aunt, and you learned a lot from Meg. And one of the things I wanted to talk, I believe everybody has to meditate. So for the person that called in, that's essential. I really honestly, even 5 minutes in the morning of meditation will change your life forever. It's called filling your car with gas. You cannot drive a car on empty. You have to fill up every day with the energies of the divine, especially now. We're going into some troublesome times. Right. And you need to fill that gas tank and protect yourself. Right. Are you talking about psychically protecting yourself? Energetically? Of course. Yeah, there isn't any other way. No. Right. You bring the light down into the chakras, down all the way down your spine. Your spine is your key to life. And you fill your body with the new energies, the fifth dimension energies, and surround yourself with white light, and then go through your day, and at night you do nightly review, and you either had a wonderful day or you had a troublesome day. If you had a troublesome day, you write it down in your journal, and you have 24 hours to make amends. Right. Because there's no time anymore to lolly in self-pity. You have to make amends and go on. And this is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Right. Okay, so you mentioned the fifth dimension, so we have to talk about, when did you first get into learning and studying about the fifth dimension? And for
around
people
2005,
for
2007.
Right.
As I was writing my books, when I started writing my books.
Okay. So for
the information came.
For people out there that don't know did the information come to you from a guide, from someone that was in the fifth dimension?
I don't channel, and I don't get me on that because that's another whole subject. The information came to me from a wonderful person who lives in India. Her name is Amrita Nandamayi, and I sat in front of her, and I asked her to put a book inside of me that would help the world ascend, and then I wanted to write it with the golden pens of angels. And many of my books came from that. The first one was Ascension, Accessing the Fifth Dimension.
Right. So that's where the book came from.
That's where Ascension came from, yes.
Right.
Psychic Attack was my first book, and that came from life experience where I saw the gypsies and how they worked and how they would make people give them thousands of dollars for nothing.
Right.
And they lived off that, and they'd play on people's souls and on their sorrows. And I had to write Psychic Attack, Are You a Victim? And teach people how to break away from that, another form of cutting.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
I went to court 4 times to help people get their money back, and they got it back.
Right. Yeah, I know. I've seen these people who, you're cursed. I need $1,000 uncurse you. And
then I wrote the story in there about how I had faced down a gypsy.
How did you face down a gypsy? Really quickly.
I had a women's group in New Jersey that I was teaching with, and one of them came in and had given $14,000 to a gypsy, and I thought that was a sin.
Wow.
And she was crying that night and telling us about what happened, and I said, why don't we go into New York, call her up, and tell her you're bringing 8 friends. So she did, and we all went into New York to get a reading from the gypsy, right? And I had somebody go ahead of me, and we were in the living room, and she took her into the kitchen, and there was a petition, a folding petition dividing the rooms, and she had her reading, and then it was my turn, and I asked the gypsy if she would pull back the petition, and she did, which was surprising. And that's the first thing that's going to tell you that somebody's a fake. First thing. You never, ever, ever have a reading with somebody sitting next to you. You do not sit down and listen to somebody else's reading. It's out of order.
Yeah, that's true.
What you do is you have it privately and you take it inward so that you can learn and grow. Anyway, she pulled back the petition and she sat down. She started in with me. And she said, I had a curse and I had a black cloud over my head. I said, really? Can you see it? Can you describe it to me? And she's looking and looking, and finally she told me she needed $300. I said, well, if you really knew anything about me and you really could see that black cloud, you'd know I didn't have that kind of money. And I said, but why don't you look up at the black cloud? How do you get rid of it? Oh, you have to go down to the church and light a candle. I said, well, let's all go. We've got a strong group here. There's 8 of us and you, and we can go down to the church and light a candle and get rid of it. Oh, no. She didn't have time to do that. So I said to her, Madam, if you're sitting there and you're telling me that I have a black cloud over my head and you can see it and you can remove it and you refuse to do it unless I give you money, I hereby give this cloud to you. And I started to push it towards her. And she went crazy. I just raised my arms up in the air and started to move my palms forward, and she went crazy. She screamed and yelled, and we all ran like hell. We got outside and laughed our heads off and went out for lunch.
Oh, I love you. Good for you. Good. Now, did this woman get her money back? Her $14,000?
I think she did because we told her. Yeah, I think she was the first one that I helped, but I helped many.
Good for you. I mean, that was good. So that was your first book, Psychic Attack, which was good.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
I kind of like that little book.
Yeah, that's
But
really
there's wonderful,
helpful.
wonderful tools in that book and direction on how to help yourself get out of the fear and to bring yourself upwards. It's about meditation. It's about mantras that you can say. All kinds of things are in that book. It's a great book.
Really? Okay, good. Now we're almost halfway, so this is a good point to talk about how do people find these fabulous books of yours, including this last one, which is your memoir, Unlimited Realities, Born with the Gift of Sight and Natural Healing.
Well, they're all on Amazon.com.
Right.
They're doing very well. My books are doing very well.
Good, they should.
So the new Fifth Dimension Energies, I want to quickly touch on that because there is a book I've written, and it's called The New Spiritual Chakras and How to Access Them. And that book was given to me by a lady who lives in India by the name of Amrita Nandamayi. She's a fully realized saint and probably at this point the only one on the planet that is.
Yes.
And so she put that inside of me, the eighth chakra, and people are beginning to access their eighth chakra now. And I realize that the book is the future, but we probably aren't going to be able to access up to the 12th until we get into 3,000 and something. So it's an unveiling book about how to proceed, and our lives will get better, and we will be able to heal more energetically, stronger, using the double helix energy coming from the galaxy that started to come in on December 21st, 2012.
Right. I remember that part of the book, too. You talked about that in your book. That's great. I mean, and so are you still a devotee of
30
Amma?
years.
Yeah, it's a long time. I do believe she's known as, isn't she known as Amma?
Amma, the hugging saint.
Yes.
Well, most of them are called Amma in India. That word means mother.
Right.
But she's the hugging saint.
Well, yes, and
she's a saint. The others are not saints. The others are great teachers, but they're not saints.
No, and I've certainly heard of her. And she's been here to Los Angeles and California. And
yes, she has.
I just
for 30 years.
She has. I know.
30th year there.
The last time I tried to see her, it was just so crowded I couldn't get in. But that was just because people know who she is. I mean, people.
If you really want to see her, let me know next time, and I'll make sure you get in. And if you're any kind of a volunteer or on staff at any one of the tables, you can be in there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a deal. I'm going to take you up on that. I really am. Because I think that's awesome.
Good.
Okay, now, so and when you say she gave you the book, she just enlightened you and then it came to you. She actually gave it to you?
It downloaded.
Wow. Okay,
when I wrote Seeding and Nurturing the Garden of Your Soul, which is about spiritual law, it came into my head. I wrote it in 6 weeks, and I'm sure it came straight from the divine. That is my favorite book.
Right. Well, you say you don't channel.
Seeding and Nurturing the Garden of Your Soul.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Do you say you don't channel, but isn't that kind of a form of channeling in a way? Like it's downloaded?
Let me tell you what channeling is.
Okay, go ahead.
Channeling is something that should not be allowed. Channeling comes from the astral plane, which is not out in the universe. It is written by dark souls who want to hypnotize you into believing untruth. And I don't care what anybody says or how angry you get at me. We are in a war right now. Yeah. And these souls that are coming from other planets and saying that they're this and that are really coming in to make you wrong, make themselves right. They have a little bit of extra power more than we do. And we start to worship them like we did Elvis Presley and the Beatles. And this is wrong. This is incorrect because it takes away your own gifts. It takes away your own inner trendings, and it fills you with their energy, so you become a puppet.
Well, I see exactly what you're saying. Like people like Esther Hicks, who's channeling.
Oh, I love Esther Hicks. Don't pick on Esther Hicks.
Okay, well, isn't that what she's doing then?
She has telepathic reception from Abraham. That's different.
That's different. Okay. All right. So how is that different? Is it because
she's on a higher level and she's giving people what they need to have?
Okay, that's different.
Why don't you try somebody like Tsar or Moscow or
that's
Ramtha?
Different. Yeah, because I would never channel either. To me, it's like I do get information from a different level, but it's not. I'm not channeling. I'm not trying to. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's funny about me, but I know it right away. Yeah. I know it right away. I don't know if you remember Lazarus, Jack
Yes,
Purcell.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he was one of those.
Yeah,
he was an elf from Ireland. But he inspired people that were lower energy than he was, and there was some great growth from that.
Mm-hmm.
However, he was not a divine being.
Right. Okay, I see exactly what you're saying, and I agree.
And what they're doing that's infuriating me is turning people into angels. An angel has never been in human flesh. So they don't know what angels are.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, yeah, and they're just saying that, and people follow. People will.
That's right. That's right.
People will, and if they have a charismatic personality and they're out there and up there, people. That's why I tell people, be careful what you believe. Just because someone says it's so.
Well,
doesn't make
what's
it
happening
so.
now, and I had this experience myself last year. Mm-hmm. They come into your body and they start taking off your body and closing down your organs, because if they can help you to die, then they win.
Well, okay, that's not.
And that is the newest thing.
Yeah,
I've got to write a book about it. I'm starting to write the book.
Well, good. So this is your next book because people should be careful about what they believe and who they believe and how they believe and choose carefully, as you said.
Well, they don't know any different, and it's so sad. Why don't they know any different? Why don't people know that they're their own channel and that they can have telepathic reception with their divine being and their blessed higher self, instead of going to somebody else to have them tell them how to do it?
Yeah, I agree completely, because I think everybody on this planet is psychic. Oh,
they are.
Yeah.
But everybody on this planet can sing, too, but they can't sing like Barbara Streisand.
No, I can't either.
You can sing in the shower.
Muscle.
I can sing in the shower. We won't touch it. But you see the difference? It's a level of energy. It's all a level of energy.
Right.
This is explained very well in my book, Ascension, Accessing the Fifth Dimension.
Okay, so what is the fifth dimension for people that don't know? I know, but...
Well, we have a new level of the aura, the fourth level, and the fourth level is now filled with cosmic energy from the double helix, and the color is amber, and we are beginning to access that as humans. We can't access it yet because we're not strong enough, and our spines would dissolve and dry up. So we have to have a filter, that's the 8.5 chakra, and have enough energy to come in to give us what we need and to strengthen us. And as we grow and as we grow as a species, this is what's going to save the planet, and this is how we're going to have 1,000 years of peace, if not more.
Well, I hope more.
So you start doing your meditations, morning meditation and nightly review. You fill up your gas tank, just like you fill up your car, and you grow and you expand, and your aura coat grows outward. And you walk in love, you walk with the divine, you connect yourself to that invisible force so that it can direct your life.
Yes, and then to me, that's the definition of being in the flow. When you do connect.
Absolutely.
And then amazing things happen.
Deal.
Yes, amazing things.
And you're in the flow and everything goes right. And, of course, then it's going to stop because we have all these subconscious fears and past lives, and we get tested again to see if we can jump the hurdle. That's why we're in the body. Remember, we're in the body because we have to get rid of our limitations. Our limitations are shown in our astrological chart. The astrological chart is your fingerprint in life. It's more important than your birth certificate or your passport.
Right.
It's your passport of life, and it shows you parts of your life when you're going to have energetic challenges. It doesn't predict what they are.
No.
But it shows you that you're in a time when your energy is low or medium or very, very good.
But what about me? What about someone like me who, no, this is all about me. No, it's not. This is your show. But I don't know when I was born because You
muscle test.
Huh? My mother she just was oblivious.
You muscle test.
Oh, you muscle test just till you get
the
date.
Your body knows when you were born.
Okay. All right, because, she was like, I was born at home, and she'd already had like 3 kids or 4 kids by the time she was 17 or, she was 12 when she got married. That's a whole other story. But, they just, when we left.
Does she know whether you were born in the morning or at night?
She said she thought it was nighttime, but See, the midwife was in her 90s
now,
and she was blind.
Psychically, I got that you were born at 4 a.m. I would love to muscle test you to see if you were.
Okay.
But somebody can muscle test you.
Okay.
And then your rising sign, you can also tell by that, by attributes. The rising sign is when you took your first breath. So that's your whole personality. The sun sign is just your physical features. The moon sign are your emotions. The rising sign is how you're going to live your life.
Good.
So
good
the rising
for
sign is determined when you take your first breath, and that ties in as well.
So it's key for people out there that most people can. Most people aren't, need to go to a lawyer when they're leaving a country and figure out when you put some date down because they have to. They can go. You can tell pretty much their life path, you believe, from their astrological chart.
I certainly can tell where they are now, and it's very fast for me. Every reading I give, I do an astrological chart because I get to know the person immediately. I get to know their cosmic makeup immediately, and therefore I can really help them.
Right. So are you still doing astrology charts for people out there? If they want to get a hold of you,
I write columns all across the country.
Okay. So if
astrology columns. I was just in Sedona magazine. Do you know Sedona?
Oh, yes. Arizona, absolutely.
Well, I wrote an article in there, and it's the first time that they did a beautiful job. It's called Mercury Retrograde, but Mercury Retrograde is over Christmas, so I was writing about Mercury Retrogrades over the holidays.
Yeah.
And then they have my predictions in there for 2018.
Wow. Well. Okay, there you go. Okay, so what is your website if people want to get a hold of you?
It's new-visions.com. There's a hyphen in the middle. new-visions.com. And I do a weekly astrology report on YouTube as well.
Good. Okay. And how would they find that? Or is that if they go to newvisions.com, would that link you to your YouTube?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So good. And if people want to do a private session with you, are you still doing those, or is that more difficult?
Of course.
Good. And workshops?
I do private sessions all around the world, and all they have to do is go to the website. There's lots of choices, and you go to Psychic Services.
There you go. Okay, because we're running out of time here. I'm going to open up the lines again if anybody has a question, because I was supposed to do that 10 minutes ago, and we just got carried away. The number is 949-313-8880. Again, 949-313-8880. My guest is Elizabeth Joyce. The name of her book is Unlimited Realities, but she's a psychic. She's an astrologer, a clairvoyant. If you have a question, now's the time to call her. So please call in if you do. The problem is then right after the show, 900 people email me and go, I had a question. And I'm like,
well, it's Halloween weekend. I think everybody's out trick-or-treating.
No, we have someone. Here we go. I don't know how to add this, though. It's just saying answering this call. We'll put the other one on hold. I'll try it. Here we go. Hello? Hello?
Hi, my name is Catherine Harriman.
Catherine, you know what, though? I think it hung up. I don't know if it hung her up. It didn't say add to call. Elizabeth, are you still on the phone? Here, let me add her. Let me just see.
Okay. Did that again.
I don't know. It hasn't done that in a long time. So I don't know why it's not.
It didn't.
Huh? Hello?
I don't know why.
Okay, I'm going to hang you up. If you could try calling. Why don't you tell me your question, and then I'll try asking her. Go ahead.
Well, I would just like to know about my health, how I got this back issue I'm having. I have 3 bulging discs and a herniated disc, and what can I do to help myself with it as well? I am not recovering very well.
Okay, all right. I will try to get her. I think this is her. Hold on one second. No, that's not her. I don't know what happened to her. Okay, I'm going to hang up so I can get her back. Hello? Elizabeth, are you there? Elizabeth, are you there? Elizabeth, are you there? Elizabeth, are you there?
I am.
We had a technical difficulty because she was talking, but then you weren't on the line like the first person was.
No, you had me on silence. I was on hold.
Okay, so here, let me just see if this works. Hello. Let's see if she answers. But she had a question about back trouble. So she was not, okay, I'm just gonna hang her up because otherwise we're not gonna get this show on the road. The show will be over. Her name was Catherine. She was calling from Arizona. She said that she has 3 bulging discs, 2 herniated discs. She's in her 60s. Why is this happening to her now? What is this about?
Well, I mean, if you want to do it esoterically, we're not doing it physically now. We're doing it esoterically. I'm not a doctor, but it's doing. The main trouble is back with people. It's the spine. The spine has to be kept centered. That's why you need to work your chakras every day. And if it's bulging, it depends on whether it's the lower back, middle back, or upper back. But let's do that. The lower back is money and security. The middle back is family and family relations, and the upper back are friends or acquaintances that are sending you bad energy. So you need to know where the uncomfortableness is located, and then you need to start working on positive affirmations to alleviate it. It takes time, but you can do it.
Okay, so so basically it comes down to working on what is starting it up in you, depending on where. I think it was her lower back. So that's about.
Okay, so that's lack of money and security, and it's fear of loss or whatever, and you have to work with it. Sometimes what we do to aggravate it is sit too long, or we don't exercise enough, or we forget to stretch. And those things do help loosen that up. You need to find a way to loosen it up. There are new chiropractic applications that you can also use. They have the electrical impulses that go up and down the spine, and they're very healing. I just went through a session because I fell down the stairs, and that really knocked my back out. So it's being in alignment. When you're in alignment, and your spine and all the chakras are spinning, there is no disease. It's impossible. So if you've got any kind of an ailment, then you're out of alignment, and you want to get yourself back into alignment again. So you do your chakras. Now, I created a wonderful chakra meditation in 1993 with Richard Schulman. Everybody knows Richard. He's very famous. He composes beautiful ascension music. He's at richheartmusic.com. And he did the background to the chakras in your body, which you can get on my website under spiritual products, the chakras in your body, and listen to it every day and allow that energy to flow through your body, and you will start to open up. If you listen to it every day for 4 months, your third eye will begin to open.
Okay, all right.
Very powerful.
Yes. Okay,
and that's
great.
taking the toning with the guided meditation. The musical toning is extremely helpful.
Okay, great. Well, that answered her question. She said she just texted because she can't get through, but she said it's her lower back, and I use the electrodes. So there you go. So it's all about.
Well, she has to know that she is stable and secure, and that everything is fine in her world, and she's ready to move forward. Otherwise, the back pain will get more intense. It's always fear of security and lack of money.
There you go.
Lower back.
Security and lack of money. Okay. And then somebody else was trying to call in when they were calling in, and they're calling again now, but I think it's going to put you on hold, but I will try getting a question here for you. Hold on. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
And I had a.
You know, for some reason we're having a technical glitch on Skype, and the calls are putting the Elizabeth on hold. So she's not going to hear you, I think. So if you tell me your question, I can ask her and then get her back on the line.
Okay. I just had a quick question about Halloween and the veil between the spiritual world being thin, and if it was if there was any way to specifically connect with loved ones who have passed, if there's some way to make yourself more receptive to that.
Okay. All right. Let me get her back. Okay. Thanks. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Again, you got put on hold. But that was Lisa calling from Southern California, and she asked how it's Halloween, how the veil is very thin between the two worlds. Is there a way to connect with people who have passed over?
Well, it is a great time to try to do a seance or to try to connect with somebody who's passed. It's out of order to call them in. You have to wait for them to come to you. So when you begin your seance, just sit in a place that's quiet, light a white candle, always a white candle. Try to have some roses. They're the flower of God. And ask if you can have forward, drop names like my Uncle Fred or my sister Nancy, or just say their names in the beginning. I would like to hear from these people, and then look into the candle and see what happens. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths. It's better to do it with 2 or 3 people because you might need to help each other. And I do seances all the time in my workshops, and what we do is we start seance by going around the room, and everybody says who their relatives are. We drop it in the middle of the energetic field that we create, and we just let that go. And then everybody closes their eyes, and one will give a message to another, and another will give a message to the one that gave the message, and everybody gets a message before the end of the session. It's really interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Meg taught me years ago never to call a spirit in because you're disturbing them from what they're doing. They will come if they're available. All you have to do is say, I'd like to hear from so-and-so and so-and-so. And sometimes you'll hear from other people first, other astral beings first. You always have to wrap yourself in white light first. You should work your chakras and wrap yourself in white light first so that you're protected from the lower energies, because your body can be hosted. So you have to be careful, and it's best to do it with 3 or more people.
Wow, okay.
And it's not wrong, and it's not evil. It's not. It's beautiful, quite beautiful. It proves the continuity of life. We don't die, we just change our way of living.
I agree. We just go to another channel, another place,
No, we go back to our soul pod. There are millions of soul pods in the universe. We go back to a group of thousands of people or more in a soul pod that's at a specific vibrationary rate. And we learn more, and we have our classes, and we work with our mentors, whoever they are, and then we're reborn. And we're reborn setting up with our life challenges, which is our astrological chart. The whole key in life is to lift yourself beyond the vibration of the pod that you came from and to go back to a new pod on a higher level. That's what the human body is for.
To grow, to learn, to grow, to be
grow
here.
Closer to the divine, and to bring yourself up vibrationary levels so that you can do more with yourself and for others.
Right, exactly. That's beautiful, actually. Well, and it is Halloween, and she was asking about that thin veil, and I loved in your book, it's at some point you said on Halloween, and I think New Year's Eve too, that if you
your
look
soulmate,
into
you can learn who your soulmate is.
Right. Explain that.
Yep. Well, Halloween would be the 31st, so you need to do this on the night of the 30th at midnight. And you have a mirror, and you have 2 white candles. I like to use the long candles in the glass because they're safe. One on each side, and you look into the mirror, and you stare into the mirror. And your face will change. You'll even see yourself as you looked in past lives, and you will recognize it. And this is probably a half hour to 45 minutes, so it's not McDonald's. You need to give it time.
Right.
And faces will start to appear. And every single year when I do it, I see faces of people that I know I'm going to meet. And it always means, when you see the face, it's going to be at a crisis moment or an important time in your life during that next year.
Right. Oh,
and it's amazing how that happens.
Within
amazing
a
how
year.
It works. I don't do it a lot anymore. I used to do it a lot.
Wow. Well, you've had such an interesting, fascinating life. I can't even tell you. I mean, honestly, Elizabeth, I could have you on the line for another 3 hours, and
I'm sure.
And we wouldn't get to everything. I know we wouldn't. But so that's why, if you're interested, you need to get the book or explore the other books that Elizabeth has written. Elizabeth Joyce has written quite a few, and they all sound like ascension. The new chakras, that sounded really interesting to me too. So I mean, they all do. So,
well, the new chakras is set down now. It's set down. It is an accomplishment. It is bringing in divine truth to show people how we'll evolve as humans. It's not wrong. It's not right. It is.
It just is.
In other words, you can't. That's right. It is. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe that the second and third and fourth chakra have changed colors. Doesn't matter. They have. Therefore, that's it.
Well, what
you
colors?
can still stay in the old system and hold yourself back, or you can move forward.
Right.
And learn what the circle of light is. The circle of light is very important. It's our new healing technique.
Right. Well, and where is the 8th chakra located?
It's about 12 feet above the 7th chakra.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
And it's crystal clear. Then you have the 8th chakra, which is behind you, and that's where your guides and angels are to make sure you don't get too much of the energy. And then the 9th chakra is in the back of your head, between the two occipital bones, where the brain meets the spine.
Mm-hmm.
And that color is magenta. When the 9th chakra starts to open, it creates a laser beam between the 9th chakra and the 6th chakra, which is the third eye, creating a dart of light piercing the pituitary and pineal gland and coming out the third eye. So about 6 inches in front of the third eye is your new point of power. Instead of the palms of your hands, it's moving up to the third eye.
Wow.
So if you use both palms of the hands and the third eye, you have a triad.
Right.
And you can do a lot with a triad.
Exactly. Wow. Well, on that note, I'm sorry we had a little difficulty with the callers calling in, but they still called in. I still got their questions and they still heard their answers, and I hope they enjoyed that. It's not quite the same, but that's what happens when you do live radio. Strange things happen.
That's true.
You just go with it and roll with it and see what happens next.
Now, let me just say one thing about Halloween. Halloween is a celebration of the dead. It is a celebration that we drop the body and go on to even greater growth. Then we have the next day. Don't ever forget, November 1st is All Saints' Day.
Right.
And it was planned that way for a reason. Halloween is the Day of the Dead. All Saints' Day is when you rise up. And we see that throughout our life. When we graduate high school, we start another era. When we go to college and we leave college, we start another era. When we have a baby, we begin a new life cycle. So it's transition, a change in the way of living. That's all it is.
Right. Right, and we're almost there. It's just a couple of weeks away, or week after next, I think. So happy Halloween.
What is?
Halloween.
It's in 2 days. Halloween
oh my
is
God,
Tuesday.
It's 2 days. Oh my God, I thought it was next week. Jeez, I am liking another.
Tuesday.
It's
and
Tuesday.
All Saints' Day is Wednesday.
There you go. It's already here. I thought I thought we still had another week, and we don't. It's here already.
It creeped up on you.
It got me. Oh my goodness. Yes, life is creeping up on me. Trust me on that one. I love you, and I love your book, Elizabeth Joyce. It's the name of the book is Unlimited Realities. The website is new-visions.com. If you want to find out anything about her, because you're out and about and doing all kinds of amazing things. Are you traveling still? Are you still going around? Are you still?
I like to have people come here. Next week, I'm doing a psychic fair in Doylestown, which is the capital of Bucks County, for charity, and I do 2 a year. And all of the people gather, the psychics gather, and the body workers and the vendors, and we all gather at a very special, beautiful mansion and do our thing, and everybody walks around and learns about holistic health. And then the money goes to charity. And we're supporting the hurricanes and hurricane health. And then we're going to be supporting something called the Senior Wish Foundation, Twilight Wish Foundation, which is helping senior citizens finish their bucket list.
Wow. Okay.
Good
for you. How nice is that? And you're still in New Jersey, and you are calling
No,
from
I'm not in New Jersey. I'm in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Well, you're still calling from the East Coast.
Bucks County.
Bucks County.
Yes,
and
of
it's
course.
Still 3 hours ahead there. So
just say New York and New York and area.
New York and well, my daughter went to the University of Pennsylvania Law School, so I love Pennsylvania. But anyway,
nice.
I really appreciate you calling in, because no matter where, you're still on the East Coast, it's late, it's Sunday night, you took the time to be on my show, and I really bless you for that. Thank you very much. It was a great honor.
Thank you.
You have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that was a great show. Elizabeth Joyce is a joy. And sorry our callers that did call in. When you hear the show, if you listen to the show again, you will hear the question and then hear the answer, because I did talk to them on the air and then got her answer on the air. So if you missed it, you can catch that on my YouTube channel. Speaking of which, I am at servethassan.com if you want to email me. Or my website is servethassan.com, and it's servethassan.com. You can email me there. I love to hear from all of you. And this is my last show for until the first of the year. So onward and upward, and there will be lots of things coming out next year on blogs and online seminars, things like that. I'll get you all up to speed then. But I think this was a great way to end it. The shows for 2017, and it is Halloween in 2 days, even though I thought it was like a week and 2 days away, but it's not. And that's what happens. Life creeps up. So anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will be back with many more great guests. And again, be you to the full, because that's what's really beautiful. That's what brings you what you need and want and gets you in the flow that we talked about with Elizabeth Joyce earlier today. When you connect to your divine self, all things are possible. Just remember that. All things are possible, and you can be who you want to be, and you are perfect just the way you are. Never forget that. Be you to the full. You're already beautiful, and you always will be. Thank you for joining me, and good night.